Today's developing story centers on a dramatic new ultimatum issued by former U.S. President Donald Trump regarding the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war. According to CNN, Trump has reportedly given Ukraine only a matter of days to agree to what he calls a plan to end the conflict, a plan he claims would rapidly stop the fighting and bring stability. However, no official details of the proposal have been made public, raising questions about what conditions might be involved and how they could shift the balance of the war. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, addressing his nation and the international community, described this moment as one of the most difficult in modern history, a point where global diplomacy, military strategy, and geopolitical pressure are all colliding. As the war enters a crucial period and international alliances remain tense, Trump's deadline-based approach introduces a new layer of uncertainty. Global analysts are now debating what this plan could realistically include: territorial concessions, security guarantees, or a ceasefire frozen along current battle lines. In this segment, we examine the political shockwave caused by Trump's demand and why Ukraine views this as a moment that could define its future.
While Trump has not publicly released the full details of his plan, he insists that his proposal could end the Russia-Ukraine war very quickly. He has previously suggested that strong pressure on both sides, especially Ukraine, could force negotiations that would stop the fighting within 24 hours. Critics argue that such a quick settlement is unrealistic, especially given Russia's territorial occupation and Ukraine's insistence that no foreign power has the right to dictate its sovereignty. Supporters of Trump, however, believe his approach could leverage U.S. influence to force concessions and halt the bloodshed. Analysts have speculated that the plan might involve Ukraine freezing the conflict along current front lines, accepting a temporary ceasefire, or engaging in talks that involve contentious territorial compromises. This has raised alarms among Ukrainian officials, who argue that accepting such terms could legitimize Russia's land seizure and embolden future aggression. This segment explores Trump's promises, the potential structure of his plan, and why so many experts doubt that a peace agreement can be enforced without long-term international commitments or security guarantees.
President Volodymyr Zelensky responded to Trump's statements with a somber and urgent message to the world, emphasizing that Ukraine is facing one of the most critical crossroads in its modern existence. He warned that the war is entering a phase where external pressure, battlefield fatigue, and shifting political landscapes could combine to create enormous risks. Zelensky stressed that Ukraine cannot accept any agreement that undermines its territorial integrity or sacrifices regions still under occupation. He reiterated that lasting peace requires not just stopping the shooting, but restoring security, sovereignty, and international law. His words reflect deep concern that quick-deal diplomacy, especially when tied to political cycles in other countries, may jeopardize Ukraine's long-term future. In addition, Zelensky highlighted the ongoing humanitarian strain, the destruction of infrastructure, the struggles on multiple front lines, and the need for continued Western support. This segment breaks down Zelensky's assessment of the war, why he believes this moment is historically significant, and how Ukraine views the growing diplomatic pressure surrounding any proposed peace plan. One of the biggest unanswered questions surrounding Trump's alleged peace proposal is what it would mean for NATO, European security, and the global order. Any agreement that forces Ukraine into concessions could send shockwaves through the alliance, signaling that Russia's military aggression could be rewarded through negotiation rather than deterred through unity. European leaders have repeatedly warned that a rushed deal could destabilize Eastern Europe and embolden other authoritarian regimes considering territorial expansion. Meanwhile, NATO analysts note that the war has already reshaped defense spending, strategic planning, and military cooperation across the continent. A sudden political settlement, especially one orchestrated by the United States, might complicate ongoing military commitments and raise concerns among frontline states such as Poland and the Baltic countries. This segment explores how the geopolitical landscape could shift if Trump's plan moves forward,
how Russia might interpret a forced settlement, and why many European governments remain anxious about the long-term consequences.
Russia has not formally responded to Trump's ultimatum, but experts believe the Kremlin is closely monitoring the political dynamics inside the United States. Vladimir Putin has previously stated he is open to negotiations only if they reflect what he calls the new realities, referring to territories Russia now occupies. Many analysts argue that Russia would likely welcome any plan that pressures Ukraine into concessions, even temporarily, because it would allow Moscow to regroup militarily, fortify occupied regions, and frame the outcome as a diplomatic victory. However, others suggest that Russia might resist a US-driven deal if it perceives that Washington is attempting to control the negotiation narrative. There are also concerns that a premature peace agreement could freeze the conflict rather than resolve it, leaving Ukraine vulnerable and giving Russia a long-term advantage. This segment evaluates the range of Russian strategic options and how Trump's timeline aligns or conflicts with Moscow's broader wartime objectives.
Trump's ultimatum comes at a time when the U.S. political environment is intensely divided over foreign policy, military aid, and America's role in global conflicts. His claim that he could end the war quickly is being interpreted not only as a diplomatic stance, but also as a campaign message aimed at voters tired of long international commitments. Critics in Congress argue that such promises oversimplify a deeply complex war, while supporters insist that the U.S. must prioritize national interests and reduce foreign spending. President Biden's administration has emphasized that any peace deal must respect Ukraine's sovereignty, warning that rushing diplomacy could undermine long-term stability. This segment explores the domestic political calculations influencing Trump's messaging, how U.S. public opinion factors into foreign policy decisions, and what this ultimatum reveals about the broader debate over America's global strategy.
As the world reacts to Trump's statement, several possible scenarios are emerging. Ukraine may reject any time-limited ultimatum, which could lead to increased political tension between Kyiv and Washington. Alternatively, diplomatic channels may intensify behind the scenes, with European partners pushing for a balanced approach. There is also the possibility that Russia could exploit the political divisions by escalating attacks or strengthening its bargaining position. Meanwhile, global markets, humanitarian organizations, and defense planners are preparing for uncertainty. Whether Trump's plan becomes a serious negotiation framework or remains a political talking point, it has undoubtedly reshaped the international discussion around the war. In this final segment, we explore potential outcomes, their global impact, and why the next few weeks may be critical in determining the direction of the conflict and the stability of the European order. You're watching AlertNow News, bringing you clear, fast, and reliable updates from the world of politics, economy, business, and technology. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more global insights right here where facts meet clarity.